lovely Lego addicts, and welcome back to another video. Thank you to FunWhole/FO for sending me this set to review, because that is right people, it is time for a review of the latest FunWhole set. There's this beautiful antique shop, which is probably the last thing I was expecting the last time I made an FO review, because I was still begging for them to make modulars. But here we are, we have come full circle from the very first review I made 4 videos ago, where I was like, I am really not sure about this brand. There was like a lot of problems to, we have a modular now, and I have come quite a long way. So first up, if this is your first time watching my video about FO, I like their stuff. I have come from not liking it to very much thinking that they have a lot of potential, and actually that they are putting some heat behind the leading brand, which I think they can do with, because they are slacking in some areas. So basically, let's dive right into this review. There is a lot to talk about here. As with anything, the first one of their new line, there's going to be some issues, and I want to talk about them because there is just a lot to unpack. So let's dive right in. So we're going to be slicing this up slightly from basically the general facts to the pros to the cons, and then just like some nitpicky things at the end and a conclusion, because there is like various things that don't quite fit in a pro or a con category, so I feel like I kind of just need to talk about them. So first up, this set is the antique store, and it will retail for $160. Dollars. That's right, I usually say things in pounds, but I've only got the dollars amount for this, so I'm gonna go with that. So it is around 2,800 pieces, and it also includes a light kit. As you can see, that's kind of the whole point of this brand. This one will ship from like the 20th to 21st, depending on when you place your order. So this is basically going to be available at the end of July. It's kind of like a retro city build, and it very heavily draws on the European style, which takes me beautifully on to the pros. To me, and the city that I have, a European architectural style is perfect, because that is kind of what I'm after. So this, on first look, when I saw the images to start with, I was excited. I saw the images and was like, this is perfect. I cannot believe we're getting modulars, point one, and also that we're getting one that fits MSD so well. This is quite a large modular. It's basically a base plate, but it's not built on a base plate. It's built with actual plates and individual things, but it's basically a base plate sized modular. It's a corner building, and a corner building is always quite difficult. I've tried to make a few corner mocks, and they're just such a pain, because like you get all these alignment things and just it becomes difficult. So I'm glad that I didn't just like go for the easy option. It looks stunning. The colour scheme that we're seeing is also slightly different to what we've seen from Lego before, and I really appreciate that as well. So I just genuinely think it's super eye-catching and awesome. As with every FO set, I really just need to highlight what a game changer custom light kit bricks are. It just makes hiding the wires in your set so easy, and all your wires can just run beautifully in the channels, and they can just like have space to be and not get pinched or broken, and it just makes everything a joy. So this whole set comes with a light kit, but also specialist elements to allow those light kits to flow really well, which allows you to hide your wires beautifully, and you can create cool stuff like this. But I also really appreciated, outside of just the fact that they obviously gone for a corner building, is the techniques weren't that straightforward. They kind of really, I feel like, challenged themselves to not just make it like a box. I feel the Jazz Club was a little bit guilty of. So there was some sideways building, there was some really good interior builds, there was a really good amount of clever and beautiful things in the set, which I really enjoyed. Not everything landed in my opinion, but there was a really good effort. So I think I'm going to have to commend them for that. And just bear in mind that price tag of $160. I also feel like I extra have to highlight the way that they've hidden the battery box at the back. It's super clever. It just kind of like clicks on like right there, and you can kind of basically move the set around with the battery box attached really easily. But you don't have to use the battery box. You can also just connect it straight to USB, or you can even use a USB-C cable to connect it. It's not really a thing that I need, but I thought it's worth mentioning because that's kind of different. Also, it's probably the thing that I was the most doubtful about in the pictures, because I thought it looked a bit weird. Similarly weird to how, like, I think at the moment, because it's not focused on it, it looks like super bright, but in person it looks really beautiful and it works so well, and I think it is one of those really, really nice elements that I've got. So it's actually the thing that I was most doubtful about, but actually in real life it's probably my favourite element of the whole set. It also comes with everything printed, so this whole set Like, for example, this thing here, which is just like a cool painting thing. Basically, everything in the set is a print, which I have to be honest, because it's a modular, that's slightly less of a selling point, because obviously the thing that we're comparing it to have all printed slash not sticker elements in there anyway, but it's still worth highlighting. So it's all prints, and there is a lot of them, and they're all quite large, and I really appreciate that. So now, after all those positive things, I want to kind of go on to the cons, because in my opinion there were quite a few. As with anything when you make like a new type of thing as a business, you're probably going to make a few mistakes, and every set has its downsides. Again, just make sure that you bear in mind the price, because this is all like what is worth it. But the main problem I have with this build really is just that they've used exposed studs as a way to create like detailing or contrast or like a worn out look or something. I don't really know what they try to achieve, but I don't like it. Personally, to me, if a stud isn't covered, it's not finished. So especially here in the side of the building, there are various exposed studs, just to create like some used texture. There's even an exposed stud brick, which especially because it has a hole in looks really weird to me. And this is a few joining points where I think it doesn't look very good, which is a huge shame. It's personal preference, but I think a lot of people probably will agree with me on this one. Exposed studs equals unfinished, so it's a shame that that is the way that they used to hide things. There's a few other areas where I'm like, are they leaving this exposed on purpose, or should they have added another brick? Was this a cost-saving exercise? Like, on the top of these things, the clutch power in the set though overall is really good. There's not that many issues as you're actually building it. The two things though that I think you need to be aware of is basically the flex is slightly different. So when you're putting the floors together, you just need to really make sure that everything is properly pushed down and sitting correctly, because if you don't, your wireless connectors aren't connected properly, so your lights won't go on, which is like an issue I had. I genuinely thought I'd pressed everything down properly, but I hadn't, which is why none of my lights are working in the top floors. So just make sure that everything is touching, that you push it down properly, that you help it along. You may have to guide it slightly in, but that was like the only time where I found the clutch power to be an issue, apart from the second item, which is they have like 3x3, I think, windows in the set. And oh my god, to put a glass in those windows, that was so freaking tough, and it hurt my hands. But that's the only other time where I felt that the clutch power was difficult. Everywhere else it was satisfying and nice, and not the same, but very similar to the leading brand, so I think that's very good. The first major problem, however, that I had with this set, and this is my personal preference, so I'm gonna have to just put it out there, but the doors for this building are brick build. I am not a fan of brick build doors and windows. It's just not my thing. I can stand, like, I'm okay with the windows having no glass in at the top floors because they are really beautiful brick build, interesting shaped elements this way, and you can really easily see in, so I can like forgive that. But the doors use transparent elements in them, and you would think that means that you can still look in, but you can't, because they are like tubed, so they have like a ripple effect, and I really wish that they were properly see-through, because now it just feels like they're blocking the view of the interior, which is actually really pretty, and because it's lit up you can see it, and that's why I generally just have the doors open as I'm displaying it to make sure I can still see inside. The second major issue I have with the set, which I think is possibly a bit bigger than the doors, is the roof. And the roof has multiple problems in my opinion, which is, first, this building here, I think it's a bit random, but I can live with it. It's actually grown on me quite a lot since I built it first. I think it's okay, but the top has two exposed studs, which makes it feel a bit unfinished to me. We've already exposed that. But also these lines are a bit random. I don't know why they're there. They don't really need to be there. They're not very well finished or integrated either. They have like a dark orange like brackets filled at the back for some reason. I don't know why that's just like a different colour that's actually in the set. And also the chimney at the back is sort of like a bit unfinished and randomly coloured, and I don't really know. I just don't really like the roof. But the two major issues I have at the roof, there was like a brick built window, which is fine, but like when you built it, in the brick built window is like a support beam, and a big chandelier hangs off that. And the big chandelier is basically the main way that you light the interior of this building. So it's a very important lighting element that you have to integrate. But this chandelier is big, but only attached by one stud into the support beam. And oh my god, the amount of times it fell off and I tried to fit this. It's outrageous. It was so annoying and painful, and in the end I thought I had it after trying like 20 times, but I found out that this thing had still fallen off. but I don't mind. I'm not touching it again. That was hugely painful. One stud for a whole 4-way chandelier is just not enough support, and that was like just genuinely actually frustrating. And it was a shame because all of this happened in the last floor, so it kind of was like the aftertaste that was left in my mouth, which is like, it could have just been avoided. And maybe even more important problem that I found with the roof is it has overhang, which looks great in the front, but it also still has overhang at the back of this building. Now, this is quite a tall building, so it's not going to be necessarily an issue for everybody, but the whole side of the building on one side is flush with the end of the base plate. So in your head, you would assume you're going to use that to like sit against a different building, but the roof still overhangs by one stud. Not much, but enough for it to not be flush. So you can't sit against a wall, you can't have it flush with anything unless you modify the roof. And I can see why there's overhang everywhere else. I don't know why there's overhang at the back. It makes no sense to me. I thought I had done something wrong initially. I was like, maybe this is just me, but that's generally the design of it. I think it's really weird. I probably think that's my main criticism of the set, is that it feels like an oversight in thinking. It should have been flush so that when you connect buildings, that's never going to be an issue. As we've just discussed some nitpicky things that I don't like, there's also 2 lanterns next to the front door. I really like the lighting that they bring to the set because it makes it feel extra cozy, but the actual design of them I think is a bit clunky and large, and I don't really know where they went for that. Also, that's the only thing that you added to the set where you can see the wires going through it, and I feel like confused to see that they chose that option for a light, whereas I feel like they could have probably designed something that was more elegant and that would have been less clunky and big, basically. It feels a bit out of proportion with like how dainty and cute the rest of the set is. There's also a nice camera build that you make for the interior as like a thing that they're selling, but the camera build is like not at all attached to anything. So though there's like effectively 2 brackets that you could lean against, it's really hard to put in by the time you build it. It just feels like you build it way too late to actually attach it, but because it doesn't attach to any studs whatsoever, it just keeps falling over, and because obviously it's a lit up building, you can see inside, so you can just see the camera like lying there like so it's a nice build, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't attach and it's really annoying, and I wish it just attached. That would have made so much more sense. There is a lot of really nice interior builds in the set that I really appreciated, however. So that takes me on to nitpicky items, actually, very well. So these are just like small things that I found like slightly like questionable, but isn't necessarily a con, it's just me going like, but why? Basically, the second floor of the building is just clocks. Like, there's just nothing else, it's just clocks. I know that clocks are like a really nice thing to build with Lego because you can be quite creative with them, but why is it just clocks? I feel like there's not enough other type of vintage items for it to be like loads of clocks upstairs, but they were nice. It was just a thing that I was like, that's kind of weird. Another really small random nitpicky item is the FunWhole sets all have like a story and like a mood setting thing at the beginning of the instructions, and I especially really like that with like the Pirate Tavern that I reviewed because I felt like really well thought about. But in this one it just had like such a random AI generated feel to it that I was like, I don't need this. It basically explains like why it's called Susan's, because it's like the person's dead wife or whatever, but like it just read a little bit like, but why? Like, it just felt a little bit shoehorned in. Like, it didn't add anything for me. I think the story is beautiful on its own. It doesn't really need the backstory for me. And also because the backstory just honestly, I don't know what it was about it. It just felt AI generated, okay? I don't know if it was. I'm sorry if it isn't, and somebody spent days writing it, but it generally felt weird to me. And I didn't need it. And I think that the set can stand on its own, and I think it's eye-catching enough as it is. Also at the back of this building, let me show you, are like a bunch of those big panels, and though I don't really mind them necessarily, they are there and they kind of just, as you're building it, they're not in the way, but they're such large elements that you kind of go, these are here to save money, aren't they? Because they're like way thin, obviously, than brick, so they use way less plastic and they cover a lot of ground, so they just feel like such cost-saving exercises. I don't really mind if that means that the price can stay down, but I still wanted to mention them because I very much noticed them as I was building. Also, this is not a nitpicky item, this is just something I wanted to mention. There is like a bunch of minifigures with the set that they're like the weird wobbly FunWhole ones that I didn't build because I don't really need them, and they were really nicely packaged in like a separate bag, so I've just kept them saved and sealed and in there. But they are there. I'm just not going to use them, that's all. Alright, having said all of that, I do really think the set is worth it. It's super eye-catching, it has the lights, it's in the realm of the things that we're looking at, a really good value product. I think it's a unique design that doesn't like borrow too much from existing modulars, and it really will just add to any sort of more classical city. And I really think it's going to integrate really well. There's a bunch of really cool other modulars coming as well, which I really love to see are slightly smaller than the Lego ones. So they're going to fill out those niche small stuff elements with themes that Lego hasn't done. So I really feel like we're getting things from FO that we haven't from Lego, and I'm feeling that niche as well as being a really good price point and lit. The one important thing to mention about the lights is they are the new type of light, so they are not compatible with the ones that are like the old style of lighting with some of the other providers like Game of Bricks and stuff use. I know Lightman Bricks is changing things, I know Brixmax has been changing things, but I just wanted to mention it. It's a new style of lighting, so if you have all the lit up sets, they may not be compatible. You have to like power them separately, but that's like a really small thing because it's hugely depending on how you have your setup. Anyway, that's all I have to say about this set, apart from there's a kitten in it. Yes! I love it when there's a surprise kitten. Every set is better if it's a surprise kitten, okay? Oh, so cute. So yeah, I hope that you will give this set a try. Let me know what you think of it if you do build it. I'm very, very excited to see that FO is trying to hand out modulars, which is probably the thing that I would like buy the most likely, and I'm in fact also likely to purchase any new sets that are coming out that I like. This is probably going to be the last video for a little while because I'm just going to have to take a bit of a break, but I still really want to talk about this. I hope that was helpful. I hope you now can make your mind up if you want this easier, and I will see you at some point in the future possibly. Goodbye my lovely people, stay well!